So even though most people saw a clear and dominant victory from Khalil Rountree last night, I still feel as though people underrate just how calculated the performance was, how intelligent his game plan was. And let's face it, those leg kicks were so obvious, and Jamal Hill just looked completely unprepared. And that tells me so much about where both of these fighters are currently. So let's break down exactly how Rountree was able to pick apart Jamal Hill and why that overhand left, as awkward as it looked, it worked perfectly. So we need to start by talking about the leg kicks. And for me, it's completely unforgivable that Jamal Hill just had no answer for these early on. Surely you know you're going against Khalil Rountree, not only a Muay Thai specialist, but someone in this camp who's been spending time with Liam Harrison. He's now trained by Jonathan Haggerty's coach as well. You knew that the leg kicks were coming. Everyone knows that Jamal Hill has a compromised knee. And the fact that Jamal Hill just had no game plan, no adjustments to make when that leg started being hurt, is just completely unforgivable. Let's take a look at this clip just to see how easy it was for Rountree to get these leg kicks off. So for this first one, even though the camera angle isn't the best for it, you can see that Khalil Rountree is able, without a setup, just to land a free calf kick on Jamal Hill. And he does absolutely nothing. We're going to take a look at another one shortly, but when you know that you're going to come against a leg kicker, someone who's really going to be chopping at that leg, believing it's compromised, Jamal Hill had a couple of options. Either get out of the way, create the distance, or counter it. We know that Khalil Rountree is susceptible to a jab. We saw it when Alex Pereira started turning up the heat and getting him out of there in the fourth round of their fight. Because of his fairly square stance and his hands are always quite wide, his head's quite static, a really traditional Muay Thai style, his head was there to be popped with that jab. And although Hill did have a bit of success with that in this fight, nowhere near enough as he should have done. And when you're getting leg kicked, you either need to counter or get out of the way. And the jab would have been a perfect counter early on, but he was just unable to get it off. I know that Rountree's fast, but it's so frustrating to think that Jamal Hill had so long to prepare for this fight, and the most obvious weapon that Rountree was going to throw, he had no answer for. And honestly, this is just making me want to pull my hair out when I think, because I do think Jamal Hill's actually a pretty good fighter, but in this fight, he just made Khalil Rountree look even better. Look at this. It's not as if he just flicks it up there like you see Alex Pereira do with very little tell. You can see he really puts his foot out there, his foot pointing in this direction because he really wants to send his hips into this kick. So it is fairly telegraphed. And Jamal Hill just does absolutely nothing. A fairly half-hearted attempt at lifting his leg up at the end. No counter, just to, even if he has to eat the first couple of leg kicks to get off those counters, at least he's leaving a mark on Rountree, making him a bit hesitant maybe for the next one. But to me, not being able to adjust to this kind of plan when it's so obvious that this is the plan your opponent's going to go for, it's totally unforgivable. However, I don't want to discredit Khalil Rountree here because what he did by setting up these leg kicks was really intelligent in my opinion. You saw him early on in that first round throwing that hammer fist that Bisping and the commentary team, they took the piss out of a bit. But really throwing these big or these seemingly big shots to really make your opponent think and stop. You saw that Jamal Hill wasn't throwing counters. He was getting his hands up high, which is good. It made a nice change for him. But his legs were just there to be chopped. And all it took was the money in the bank. Those first two rounds where Khalil Rountree was just chopping away. And then you saw Jamal Hill go into that orthodox stance. And that orthodox stance just didn't suit him at all. Because his power hand there, which would be his right hand, his backhand, you need to push off with your back foot, which in that case was his right leg, which had already been chewed up. So Khalil Rountree worked that to perfection. And I don't want this to be underestimated. It's obvious the guy has a bad knee, so target that leg. But Khalil Rountree also knows that Jamal Hill, he's got real power, let's face it. He's knocked a lot of fighters out in the past. He really put it on Glover Teixeira, that knockout against Johnny Walker. So for Khalil Rountree to compromise his base, meaning that, yes, he's more there to be hit because he can't get out of the way, but also he can't push off on that back foot. And when Khalil Rountree started the inside low kick on his left leg as well, it just showed that he'd been doing his homework, he'd done his game plan, and he didn't need to go too deep into it. So we're going to look at the shot itself in a second, but just so you know, if you don't quite remember from last night, I'm talking about that overhand left that really comes over the top. He really reaches over with it. But that was a really important shot to throw against a fighter like Jamal Hill. And look, I think it's all part of the game plan. It wouldn't make sense that Khalil Rountree just has this bad technique in his arsenal. There's a reason why he throws this. It's not like all his striking's crisp apart from this one shot. And the reason why I think he throws that overhand left like this is because, I'll just play this forward a bit. So Jamal Hill, I criticised him for this at the start before the fight itself. After he throws a shot, his hand just goes down by his waist. It's a really, really bad habit that he has. But then, in order not to eat a shot straight away, because I bet he has in sparring, he really leans back. And you need to appreciate that he's also the taller fighter. So the fact that if you want to counter Jamal Hill or land something with significance on him, you know that after he throws a shot and his hand goes low, he's going to be leaning back. So look how far away he actually is from Khalil Rountree at this point. Khalil Rountree, being the naturally shorter man with a shorter reach, he's never going to catch him with a clean shot at this angle. So he needs to throw something slightly unorthodox. So this overhand left, yes, it looks a bit goofy, but let's see how effective it was. Okay, so we're moving on to this sequence in round 3. So Jamal Hill throws that right hand, and just like we said, look where that hand ends up. Again, this was just poor, really poor from Jamal Hill. It was a very poor performance, I'm sure he'll agree. But look at that, really reaching over, huge overhand left by Khalil Rountree. Partially lands on the glove. But this is exactly, he knew what Jamal Hill would do after that shot. He'll throw a shot, his hands will be low, but he'll lean back. Great, his hands are low, but the fact that he really creates that distance means you have to really reach for that shot. So as you can see, Jamal Hill shakes his head there, which always means that one got through. And finally, the technique which I knew would have the most success in this fight, and if you saw my YouTube short beforehand, there's evidence for it there. Jamal Hill throwing a left hand that misses, hands completely low, and then that back left hand by Khalil Rountree over the top, clean, cracks Jamal Hill on the chin. More of a flash knockdown, his legs were never really gone. But just an example of, look, a shot might look goofy when you see it without context, without all the game plan going into it. But when you know someone's such a solid striker like Khalil Rountree, then it's worth giving him the benefit of the doubt on those occasions. But anyway, I want to talk quickly about the narrative of the fight being boring, because I saw a lot of that talk online saying it was a really dull fight. And yes, whilst the output was very low, I still much prefer these kind of fights than someone being pressed up against the fence and loads of takedowns where not much happens. I think that's purely because, at least when you watch these live, look, there's not that much rewatch value in a fight like this because you know the outcome, you know that the rounds will drag a bit. But when you're watching it live and you know that a fighter like Jamal Hill still possesses that power, until you get to the end of those 5 rounds, if you're a Khalil Rountree fan, you still think there's a bit of doubt in your mind. But anyway, that's been my breakdown of last night's fight between Khalil Rountree and Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill looked really flat, didn't offer anything coming back. Khalil Rountree completely compromised his movement. Very, very good performance by Rountree. And then I wasn't really impressed by Hill sort of talking in his ear at the end and things like that. Look, Khalil Rountree had a game plan. He stuck to it. He won the fight. Very impressive. Anyway, guys, next week, International Fight Week, Charles Oliveira against Ilia Topuria. That's going to be the focus of my week next week. So, guys, please do subscribe if you've enjoyed this video. I'm going to be talking about why Oliveira could win, why Topuria could win. We'll get into all of that. If you've enjoyed this breakdown, please do comment below what you made of Rountree's performance. Let me know if there's anything I've missed, and I'll see you in the next video.